The night was supposed to be quiet. Daniel Carter finished his late shift and walked home through the empty streets of his small town. The sky was clear, full of stars. The kind people stopped noticing because they had always been there. Daniel was a normal man with a normal life. He worked, paid his bills, ate alone most nights, and went to sleep thinking tomorrow would be the same as today. He believed nothing special waited for him in the universe. That belief shattered when the sky burned. A sudden flash of light cut across the stars. The ground shook, and a deep sound rolled through the air like distant thunder. Daniel stopped walking. His heart pounded as he looked up. Something was falling from the sky, glowing blue and white, spinning wildly before crashing beyond the trees near the edge of town. People's lights turned on in nearby houses. Dogs barked. Somewhere, a car alarm screamed. Daniel should have run home. He knew that. Everyone knew strange things meant danger. But something pulled at him, a quiet voice inside that said, this was important. Before fear could win, his feet moved on their own. He headed toward the crash. The forest was dark, but the broken trees made the path easy to follow. Smoke drifted through the air, smelling sharp and metallic. Daniel's chest tightened as he reached a small clearing. At its center lay a cracked object, half buried in the ground. It looked like metal, smooth and curved. Nothing like any plane or machine he had ever seen. Then he heard a sound. A weak, trembling breath. Daniel froze. Slowly, carefully, he moved closer. Beside the broken metal lay a figure curled on the ground. It was small, about his size, but not human. Her skin shimmered faintly under the moonlight. A pale silver-blue, long, dark hair spread across the dirt. Her clothes were torn and burned. She opened her eyes. They were large, glowing softly, filled with fear. Daniel's mind screamed at him to run. This was impossible. This was not real. But the fear in her eyes was too familiar. He had seen it before, in injured animals, in lost children, in people who had been hurt and abandoned. She tried to move and cried out in pain. That decided it. "It's okay," Daniel said softly, though his voice shook. "I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him, breathing fast, her hands shaking as if ready to defend herself. He raised his palms to show they were empty. He moved slowly, kneeling at a distance. Blood, dark and glowing faintly, stained her side. "You're hurt," he said. "I can help, please."
She did not understand his words, but she understood his tone.
Her body relaxed just a little. Her eyes closed, and she collapsed back into the dirt, unconscious. Daniel swallowed hard. Against every rule of common sense, he picked her up. She was lighter than she looked. Her body was warm, and her breathing was weak but steady. Daniel carried her through the trees, every sound making him flinch. When he reached his house, he locked the door, closed the curtains, and gently laid her on his bed. He did not sleep that night. He cleaned her wound as best he could, using water and clean cloth. The injury was deep, but strangely it seemed to heal faster than any human wound he had ever seen. As the hours passed, the bleeding slowed, and her breathing became stronger. Near morning, she woke. She sat up suddenly, eyes wide, scanning the room. Her gaze locked onto Daniel, who stood frozen near the door. Fear crossed her face, then confusion. She spoke. The words were musical, sharp, and flowing. Nothing Daniel recognized. "Hey," he said gently. "Easy. You're safe. You crashed."
"You are hurt." She watched his mouth carefully, tilting her head.
Slowly, she spoke again, this time halting. "Where? Anne? Daniel's eyes widened. "You can speak English." "Learning," she said, pressing her fingers to her temple. "Your world broadcasts many signals."
He nodded slowly. "You're on Earth."
"My house. I'm Daniel." She hesitated, then replied, "I am a Lyra." Silence filled the room. You fell from the sky, Daniel finally said. People might have seen it. Fear flashed across Illyra's face. They must not find me. Why? She looked down at her hands. Because others will follow, and they will not be kind. Daniel felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Over the next day, Illyra explained what she could. She was not a soldier or a conqueror. She was a traveler, a researcher, sent to observe developing worlds. Earth was marked as primitive, unimportant, barely worth attention. Her ship had been attacked while passing through nearby space. She barely escaped. The ones who hunt me, she said quietly, do not care about rules. They destroy worlds for convenience. Daniel laughed nervously. That's great, really comforting. She studied him. You are not afraid of me? I am, he admitted. I'm just more afraid of leaving someone to die. Illyra seemed surprised by that. As night fell again, strange things began to happen. Daniel's phone lost signal. His radio picked up bursts of static filled with unknown sounds. Illyra stiffened every time. They are searching, she said. My ship sent a distress signal before it fell. Daniel paced the room. So what do we do? She looked at him with a seriousness that made his chest tighten. You have already done more than most species would. If you send me away now, I will not blame you. Daniel thought of his quiet life, his routine, his loneliness. He looked at the alien girl who had fallen from the stars and trusted him with her life. No, he said. You're not going out there alone. That night, lights appeared in the sky again. Small, moving stars that were not stars at all. Illyra watched them through the window, fear and determination mixing in her eyes. They think this world is weak, she whispered. They believe humans will hide or surrender. Daniel clenched his fists. Then they don't know us very well. He did not feel brave. He felt terrified. But he stood beside her anyway. Somewhere above Earth, unknown eyes turned toward the planet, and a normal life quietly ended, replaced by something far bigger than either of them could imagine. Morning came without peace. Daniel had not slept. Every small sound made him jump. The house felt different now. Like it was no longer just a place to live, but a hiding spot in a much larger game. Outside, the world looked normal. Cars passed. Birds sang. People went to work, unaware that something from the stars was watching their planet. Inside, Illyra sat near the window, careful to stay out of sight. Her eyes followed everything, learning, analyzing. She looked calm, but Daniel could see the tension in her shoulders. They will scan again, she said quietly. They do not rush. They hunt slowly. Daniel rubbed his face. Great. That's comforting. She tilted her head slightly, a gesture she had picked up from him. Humor. Humans use it to hide fear. He gave a weak smile. Yeah, you're learning fast. Illyra stood and moved closer to him. She still walked carefully, as if Earth itself felt strange under her feet. You should not stay with me. If they find this place, they will not ask questions. Daniel looked at her. You keep saying that, and I keep giving the same answer. She studied his face, truly trying to understand him. Why? He thought for a moment. Because if I walk away now, I'll never forgive myself. That seemed to confuse her even more. They spent the day preparing. Daniel closed off the spare room, covered windows, and unplugged anything that made noise or sent signals. Illyra helped in her own way, using small devices she carried, placing them carefully around the house. These will blur scans, she explained. Not block them, just confuse. Good enough for me, Daniel said. As hours passed, Illyra shared more of her story. Her people traveled between stars, observing worlds, guiding younger civilizations when allowed. But not all species followed those rules. Some believed power was the only law.
They see Earth as nothing, she said. Weak.
Divided. Slow.
Daniel felt a strange mix of anger and pride. We've been underestimated before.
She looked at him sharply. Yes, I am beginning to see that.
In the afternoon, a loud noise echoed overhead. Not a crash, not thunder.
Something deeper. The air vibrated.
Illyra froze. They are closer.
Daniel grabbed his jacket.
Basement? She nodded. For now. They moved quietly, every step careful.
In the darkness below the house, Illyra closed her eyes, listening to sounds no human could hear. Daniel sat beside her, heart racing. Minutes passed. Then hours. Finally, she opened her eyes. They did not find us.
But they know I survived.
Daniel exhaled slowly.
So this is just the beginning?
Yes. That night, Illyra asked to see more of Earth. Daniel showed her old books, photos, news clips. She watched humans fight, love, fail, and rise again. You are chaotic, she said, but persistent. Daniel laughed softly. That's one way to put it. She paused on a video of people helping strangers after a disaster.
Why do they help? There is no advantage.
He shrugged. Sometimes doing the right thing is enough. Illyra was quiet for a long time after that. The next day, trouble came closer. Daniel noticed a black vehicle parked down the street. No markings. It stayed there too long. His phone buzzed with a warning alert that made no sense before cutting out.
Illyra felt it too. They are adapting.
Using your systems?
Daniel clenched his jaw, so hiding won't last. No. That was when Daniel made a decision he never imagined he would make.
He called an old friend, someone who worked in communications, and owed him a favor. Carefully, without details, he asked questions about strange signals and unusual readings. The answers worried him. Something was moving through Earth's orbit.
Illyra listened quietly as Daniel explained. They're not attacking, he said.
They're watching. She nodded. They are deciding if this world is worth effort.
That sounds bad? For them,
she corrected softly. That evening, the sky lit up again. Not like before. This time, it was controlled. Silent shapes moved among the stars. Daniel felt small. What happens if they decide Earth isn't worth protecting?
Illyra turned to him, her expression serious. Then humans will stand alone. He met her gaze. We've done that before, too. Something changed between them then.
Not romance, not yet. Trust. Respect. Late that night, alarms went off. Every device in the house screamed at once before dying. Illyra gasped, pain flashing across her face.
Daniel did not think.
He grabbed her hand.
Then we move.
They left the house through the back, disappearing into the darkness. As they ran, lights flared in the sky, scanning the ground. Illyra stumbled. Daniel caught her without hesitation.
You don't have to do this, she said, breathless.
I'm choosing to. Behind them, the quiet town slept, unaware that its fate had just shifted. Above Earth, the hunters adjusted their focus, and for the first time, they noticed something strange. The human was not running away. They did not stop running until their lungs burned. Daniel led Illyra through narrow streets, parks, and back paths he had known since childhood. He avoided lights and open roads, trusting memory more than sight. Above them, the sky hummed softly, like a distant engine that never shut off. Illyra's grip on his hand tightened.
They are adjusting, she said between breaths. They did not expect movement like this.
Daniel did not slow down.
Then let's keep surprising them. They reached an old service tunnel near the edge of town, half forgotten and rarely used. Daniel forced the rusted door open, and they slipped inside just as a beam of pale light swept across the ground behind them. The door closed. Darkness swallowed them. For a moment there was only silence and their breathing. Illyra leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. Her skin glowed faintly, pulsing with stress.
They are close.
Too close. Daniel checked his phone. Dead. No signal. Can you block them again?
I am trying,
she said. But they are learning. They adapt quickly. Daniel frowned. So do we. He remembered the tools stored in the tunnel. Old equipment left behind by the city years ago. Flashlights, cables, metal scraps. Nothing advanced. Nothing alien. Just human leftovers. An idea formed. They're scanning for you, he said slowly. Your energy, your tech. Yes. What if we give them too much noise to sort through? Illyra opened her eyes. Explain. Daniel began working, pulling wires loose, connecting power cells to old metal frames. He did not fully understand why it would work. He only knew humans had always been good at one thing, making a mess. He spread the devices through the tunnel, switching them on one by one. The air filled with interference, static, random energy spikes. Illyra watched in disbelief.
You are creating chaos.
Exactly. Above ground, the scanning lights wavered. Illyra stiffened. Daniel smiled, breathless. Good. But confusion did not mean retreat. The tunnel shook as something landed nearby. Heavy footsteps echoed through the earth. They sent ground units, Illyra whispered. Daniel's smile faded. Figures. The air grew colder. Shadows stretched unnaturally long as figures entered the tunnel from the far end. Tall, armored, not made for Earth. The hunters. They spoke in sharp, clicking sounds, weapons humming softly in their hands. Their eyes locked onto Illyra. She is here, one of them said, its voice translated through a device. Daniel stepped forward without thinking.
She's not going anywhere.
The hunters paused. Their attention shifted to him, analyzing. Human irrelevant. That word hit harder than any threat. Illyra's hands trembled. Daniel, please. No, he said quietly. I'm done hiding! The lead hunter raised its weapon. Move aside. Daniel did not. What happened next surprised everyone. Daniel grabbed one of the active devices and threw it down the tunnel. It exploded in a burst of light and sound. The hunters staggered. Sensors overloaded. Illyra reacted instantly, using her own tech to amplify the disruption. The tunnel filled with chaos. Daniel pulled Illyra back as energy blasts hit the walls. Debris rained down. The hunters recovered quickly, but not fast enough. They ran. The tunnel collapsed behind them, sealing off the path. The ground shook violently, then went still. Daniel and Illyra emerged miles away, near an abandoned industrial zone. Daniel collapsed against a wall, laughing breathlessly. That actually worked. Illyra stared at him, awe clear on her face.
You fought them.
With trash. Hey, he said. That's premium human engineering. She smiled for the first time since arriving on Earth. But the victory was small. That night, Illyra's condition worsened. The strain from blocking scans and fighting took its toll. She weakened, her glow dimming. They are tracking me through damage, she admitted.
My body is not meant for long exposure here. Daniel felt fear tighten his chest.
Then we fix it. How, however we can. He brought her to an old warehouse he knew well, once used by his uncle. It had power, thick walls, and no active connections. Alira rested while Daniel scavenged supplies. As she slept, Daniel studied her more closely. She was strong, intelligent, and brave, but vulnerable, just like any human. When she woke, she spoke quietly. "Daniel." "Why do humans fight when logic says retreat?" he thought carefully before answering. "Because logic doesn't decide everything. Sometimes you fight because walking away costs more." She absorbed that. Hours later, the hunters returned. This time, they did not rush in. They surrounded the area, cutting off escape routes. A voice echoed through the warehouse. "Alien traveler! Surrender! The human will be spared!" Illyra flinched. "They are lying." Daniel nodded.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
She looked at him. "If I go with them, Earth may remain unnoticed."
Daniel's heart dropped. "No, it is the rational choice. Maybe," he said firmly, "but it's not the right one." She searched his face.
They will destroy you.
Then they'll learn something new,
He replied.
We don't give up our people.
Outside, the hunters breached the walls. Daniel and Illyra stood back to back. Humans and alien, weak and strong, ordinary and extraordinary. Illyra activated her final defense system. "This will expose your world." Daniel shrugged. "Guess the galaxy's about to get an introduction." The explosion of light that followed lit up the sky for miles. Above Earth, distant watchers paused. Humans were not hiding, they were fighting. And that made all the difference. The light faded slowly, like a second dawn retreating back into darkness. When Daniel opened his eyes, his ears rang, and his body felt heavy. Dust filled the air, and pieces of the warehouse lay scattered like broken toys. He coughed and pushed himself up, fear hitting him all at once. "Aila!" She lay a few steps away, surrounded by a faint shimmering field. The glow around her was weak but steady. Her eyes were open. "I am here," she said softly. Relief hit Daniel so hard his knees nearly gave out. He rushed to her side.
"That thing you did?"
"Was that your last move?" She nodded slowly. "It sent a signal far beyond this system. Not just to my people, to many." Daniel swallowed. "So we're officially noticed?" "Yes," sirens wailed in the distance. Human sirens. Daniel stiffened. "People are coming." Illyra struggled to sit up. Then hiding is no longer possible. They did not run. By the time the first emergency vehicles arrived, the hunters were gone. Burned marks scarred the ground. Strange metal fragments steamed in the cool air. Cameras captured everything. Phones recorded the glowing sky, the shapes that should not exist the moment Earth stopped being alone. Daniel stood between Illyra and the approaching lights. Soldiers arrived soon after. Weapons raised, orders shouted. Confusion everywhere. Illyra lifted her hands slowly. "They fear me," she whispered. Daniel took a breath. "Then, let's not give them a reason to." He stepped forward. "My name is Daniel Carter," he said loudly. "She's not an enemy." The soldiers hesitated. They had trained for threats, not for moments like this. A senior officer stepped forward. "Sir, step away from the entity." Daniel did not move. "If you want to talk to her, you talk to me too." Illyra looked at him, surprised. "You are placing yourself in danger." He smiled faintly. "Seems to be a pattern lately." Hours passed in tense discussion. Scientists arrived. Officials, people who asked hard questions and listened carefully. Illyra spoke slowly, choosing words with care. She explained the hunters, the galaxy, and the reason Earth had been ignored for so long.
"You were considered harmless," she said honestly. Not worth attention. That answer did not anger the humans.
It motivated them. Within days, Earth changed. Satellites tracked unknown objects near the edge of the system. Engineers studied alien debris. Scientists worked day and night, learning faster than anyone expected. Not by copying alien designs, but by adapting them to human ways. Illyra watched it all in quiet amazement.
You move quickly, she said to Daniel as they stood in a secured facility overlooking a bustling lab.
Even wounded species take decades to respond like this. Daniel crossed his arms. We don't like being told we don't matter.
The hunters did not return immediately.
That worried Illyra more than an attack would have. They are watching, she said, waiting to judge. And the galaxy? Daniel asked. They are listening now. Messages began to arrive, not friendly, not hostile. Curious? Other species wanted to know why a developing world had repelled advanced hunters. Why a single human stood beside an alien traveler and refused to surrender her. Daniel became a symbol, whether he wanted to or not. He did not wear armor or command fleets. He just kept showing up. When, Illyra weakened, human doctors adapted treatments. When alien tech failed, human engineers improvised. Together, they created something new. Not alien, not human, shared. One night, as Earth's defense network activated for the first time, Illyra stood beside Daniel on a balcony overlooking the planet. They will test you again, she said. Harder this time. Daniel nodded. Let them. She turned to him.
You could still walk away. Let your leaders decide.
He shook his head. This started with me choosing not to look away. I'm not stopping now. Above them, stars watched silently. Far beyond Earth, ancient powers took notice. Humans were not loud conquerors. They were stubborn protectors, and that made them dangerous. The galaxy was beginning to understand that turning one normal life upside down had awakened something far greater. Something that would not go back to sleep. The galaxy did not wait long. Weeks after the first signals spread, Earth felt the pressure. Strange objects appeared at the edge of the solar system, large, silent, and watching. They did not attack. They did not speak. They simply stayed there, like judges deciding a sentence. Daniel stood in a control room filled with humans and alien screens. He was still just a man who once lived a quiet life, but now every movement he made was watched. He did not feel important. He felt responsible. Illyra stood beside him, her strength slowly returning thanks to shared human and alien medicine. Her glow was steadier now, no longer fading. They are the Council observers, she said. They decide which worlds rise and which are erased. Daniel let out a slow breath. No pressure. A message finally came through. Now. Clear. Cold. Earth is summoned to present its claim. Many leaders argued. Some wanted to hide. Some wanted to strike first. Humans were divided, as they always were. Daniel listened quietly, then spoke. We didn't ask to be dragged into this, he said. But we didn't run either. That should be our claim. Illyra looked at him with pride. A small human ship, upgraded with shared technology, was chosen to respond. It was not powerful. It was not impressive. It was honest. Daniel was asked to stay behind. He refused. If this is about choices, he said, then I'll stand by mine. The ship crossed the space between Earth and the waiting observers. Massive alien forms appeared on the screens, ancient and unreadable. Human, one of them said. Why do you protect what is not yours? Daniel answered simply. Because someone needed help. Silence followed. You risk extinction for one life? Yes, a murmur rippled through the observers. Aelira stepped forward. Humans were never guided, never protected. They survived alone, and still, they chose kindness. The council examined records, wars, failures, violence. Then they saw something else. Rescue missions, sacrifice, strangers helping strangers for no reward. "Your species is flawed," the council said. Daniel nodded. "Absolutely. But you resist domination." "Yes, and you adapt faster than expected." Daniel smiled faintly. "That's kind of our thing." The final test came without warning. A hostile fleet far stronger than the hunters before entered the system. Not sent by the council, but allowed by them. A test of survival. Earth's defenses activated. Human pilots flew beside machines they barely understood. Engineers rewrote systems mid-battle. No perfect plans, just effort, courage, and stubborn refusal to fall. Aelira watched in awe as humans did what they always did best. They improvised. The battle was fierce. Losses were taken. Fear was real, but Earth did not break. Daniel stood in the command center, hands shaking, voice steady. "Hold the line." And they did. When the enemy finally retreated, the silence felt unreal. The council spoke again. Decision reached. Time stretched. "Earth will not be erased." Relief swept through the room. "Earth will not be ruled." Cheers broke out. "But Earth will be watched." Daniel nodded. "Fair enough." The council turned to Aelira. "You may return." She looked at Daniel. "You may also stay," they added. The choice was hers. Days later, Daniel stood beneath the open sky, looking at stars that no longer felt distant. Aela joined him. "I am no longer hunted," she said. "But I am also no longer just a traveler." He smiled. "Welcome to the club." She took his hand. "You lost your normal life." Daniel looked around at a world waking up to the stars. "I think I outgrew it. Above Earth, ships came not as hunters, but as visitors. The galaxy had learned something important. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. But when someone fell from the stars and needed help, they did not look away. And that made all the difference."